Right, hello. So, if you didn't see any of the last stream, it was a long one. We talked about where should we start? We talked about how React has concurrent mode where component trees. How should I put this? Let's see. Let's just do JSON here. So you have your root component tree, and then you render my component, for example. And that component is like doing, I'm gonna simplify the shit on here. It's like a new my component. That's kind of like, okay, maybe we should make this, how do I change the language? Change language, change language mode. So let's imagine like that's tree. So that's kind of like what React does initially. And then what happens in the actual component is that it runs render, or it just runs the function body and register all the hooks. It doesn't do anything with the hooks. It just sees all the hooks, registers them. And then React goes along, does its concurrency thing, and then something happens and it just updates with this. There's no reference to my component anymore. So it gets, it's kind of like dereferenced in JavaScript, and it gets garbage collected whenever. The point is that if we had a side effect running the function of the component, for example, we instantiated the class that did something or started some process, or we started an interval or whatever side effect we started, that will still be there, right? But this is a very efficient way of just updating the tree. It's like, let's just dereference it and the garbage collector will just take it. But the problem is that we don't know that it happens. You, as a user of React's API, you don't have access to anything. As a library author of React, you have no idea that this is happening. So if you do want to instantiate something that has a side effect during rendering, because it provides state that you need access to during rendering, that's not really safe, because even though you dispose of that instance in a use effect like a disposer, that use effect might never run because of concurrent mode. So the question is, how do you actually deal with that? And this was a big issue when concurrent mode was announced, and a lot of library authors were dependent on the behavior of accessing an unmounting lifecycle hook of React, especially with observation. So you have these components that has an observer around it, and it typically an observer subscribes and then to any accessed reactive primitive, and then it unsubscribes to that when it's disposed, and that doesn't work anymore in these specific cases. So the way they've solved that is use finalization registry, which is a way to detect when something isn't referenced anymore, like the component, and then you can clean up some stuff. The problem is that it will be late. Like, you don't know when the garbage collector runs. It can run immediately. It can run seconds, minutes, and maybe not even during the session of the user. But, instead of going in and telling users that they can't, let's see, instead of doing kind of like what React has done with strict mode to kind of change the runtime so it executes doubly, and in different ways. Like it first double. Let's see if we have a component here. Do we have normal component? Okay, so for app, it runs app twice, but it throws away the first run of app, or it dereferences it. So anything you instantiate through that, it's going to be dereferenced, and it's not going to ever be accessible in this scope again. And then it runs it again, which becomes the actual reference to this component scope. And then if it goes to commit phase, it will run useEffect. useEffect runs twice to ensure you have the disposer running, and some of the other hooks as well. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so strict mode is what does that. But and we talked about here, okay, how can we make sure that if some class here creates a side effect, onWillUnmount is never called? Should we document this is because of render and commit phase, and you should actually not ever do this. You should rather do not run any side effect, rather go on unwanted, and then you do something that causes the side effect, whatever. But what I want to do is, I'm very inspired by being more practical, and trust that the engineers and developers, we care more about code than like the surface API we're working with. We care about how React actually works. Like we care about how does React actually update its UI. So it's this reconciler. We actually care about this function app being called multiple times. And when we change the description of the user interface, React does something called reconciliation to minimally operate on the DOM to keep it up to date, and so on and so on. And with that trust in mind, I don't think we should, like, it's such a small chance that React will do this, that, well, arguably, of course, but we should rather just give a warning if it happens, so that you can, first of all, you can just say it, that if you instantiate something that creates a side effect, well, I guess this is the thing that I don't feel 100% confident about. It's like, if you render out the state of this, or if you render out this component, do you know immediately if that is ever going to be affected by concurrent mode? Or is there like different situations that causes that component to be affected by concurrent mode? So in this case, with the interval, which we clear on unmount, if we test the application, it works fine. There's no suspense happening causing concurrent mode. There's no prioritization of any other component causing concurrent mode to kind of throw away this component. Is that enough, right? Or could it happen in production that you're running this interval and then the user is putting the application in a state you haven't tested, and then suddenly concurrent mode causes unwanted not to trigger? I don't know, honestly. Maybe we should do some more research. React concurrent. Okay, maybe we can ask ChatGPT about this. In what APIs in React causes concurrent mode to trigger? In React concurrent mode, or more accurately, React's concurrent features, since the formal concurrent mode API has. Oh my god. Oh. Has evolved into concepts like automatic batching and transitions. I think the thing that triggers concurrent mode is it has a scheduler. I think it's called a scheduler, and you can prioritize certain things. So you have like start transition API. This is going to affect concurrent mode, but I think it's isolated, right? So for example, if you have a component in the component tree and you use suspense as a child there, then yes, that's going to trigger concurrent mode. Or if it uses start transition API, it's going to trigger concurrent mode. So it's like you decide in what component tree that concurrent can happen. Anyways, that's what I think. Let's read. Concurrent mode, blah, 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 automatic batching and transition. Smoother user experience. Here are the key APIs and features that interacts with concurrent features. The API is used to mark updates as non-urgent, allowing React to prioritize urgent updates, like responding to user input over these transitions. It helps in avoiding blocking the main thread with heavy computations or rendering tasks. To mark updates as non-urgent, allowing React to... Yeah, exactly. So this isn't about like mounting new things, right? This isn't about rendering new component trees. This is about delaying this set state, right? It's non-urgent. Delay the set state until you're done doing more important stuff. More responsive during complex updates. Automatic batching. React 18 introduced automatic batching for updates, meaning that multiple state updates within an event. Yeah, exactly. Again, it's about concurrent mode is something that happens when something is mounted. It's not... yeah, this is definitely super nice. Use transition. Use transition is a hook that turns a state and a function to mark updates as transitions. It's used to control visual states during... start transition. But wasn't that start transition? Is pending start transition. Why is there... what's the difference? I guess you get access to is pending, but so that would be like you can check if it started a but wouldn't that need a reconciliation to update is pending? So isn't that the whole point of not triggering a new reconciliation? I have to look at that API. Don't understand it from... Okay, and then suspense and suspense list, that's fine. This is where the only place I can really see that there's a problem with disposing of uninitialized components. Because the very point of suspense is that it goes through, it renders a bunch of components, hits the use hook, which throws to suspense, and it doesn't dispose of all the components, right? It just keeps it. And then it goes back to where it threw from and only starts the rendering there again. Like why it shouldn't have side effects and continues the journey. Yeah, And this is very easy to detect. Use deferred. District defers a value so that it can be used in concurrent, allowing React to prioritize more urgent. Defers a value. Yeah, but again, updates. So I want to say that I'm curious about the use transition hook. Yeah, exactly. It should at least run in the render method too, which is more of a strict mode fix than anything else. But yes, yes. That lets you update the state without blocking. Yeah, what is this is pending thing? That it makes me curious. Call at the top layer of a comment to mark some state updates as transitions. But I don't understand this. Isn't the point that so if you call start transition, this use transition will cause a reconciliation because it's pending. But setting the tab, why can't you just set the tab? Is it the consequence of setting the state? Oh, I think so. Oh, so this could be like, okay, the way I think this works is like, so setting the tab is like mounts a huge ass component tree, right? So it has a big impact. And then you could like with is pending, that will immediately trigger, but it won't actually render the tab, right? So what you can do is like you can fade out whatever button you click to open the tab so that you get instant response, but it won't actually open the tab until React is ready to open the tab. Yeah, that's interesting. But it seems to me that most of the concurrent features of React has to do with existing mounted components. It's not about, the only thing is really suspense that affects if a component will mount at all. Let's ask which mechanisms affects components never mounting. In React, certain mechanics and behaviors can cause components to never mount or to get unmounted before they complete condition. Oh yeah, wait a minute. We talked about conditional rendering. Oh, but isn't this? Oh, but that's different, right? Oh, sorry. This has nothing to do with concurrent. This is just, yeah, this is just like conditional, right? So it's never mounted. That makes sense. Yeah, sorry. I thought this was more like, because if this is false, this isn't even evaluated, right? So it just becomes false. That makes sense. It's a common pattern using logic. If the left-hand condition is false, the comment on the right hand is not rendered. Yeah, of course. Early return and yeah. Okay, sorry. It's talking about like not explicitly concurrent. If a component mounts initially but is quickly the mount effects can be cut. Oh, interesting. Yeah, React suspends error boundaries, strict mode. use transition. Yeah, but this is different, right? React may delay or interrupt the rendering of components. But that doesn't mean it will dispose of them. Yeah, because start transition is just making a state change. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with. The thing I'm very curious about is this one. Does it mean that? Yeah, that's interesting. That's the okay. So, yeah, let's run it. Didn't I have export? Oh, oh my god. Function child component. Hello there. Yeah, I wonder what. This is interesting. We didn't see it. Render use effect. Run that effect. We should probably turn off strict mode, like just in case. It. Oh, it is there. You saw it. Yeah. I'm just. What if we do it even faster, like even 0, like super fast? I just want to check if it's. It is running the effect. I'm just going to turn off strict mode in case it does anything. Yeah, I wonder what scenario that could be. Like it might be ChatGPT just coming up with shit. Yeah, though it does state like for components that have effects that run on mount, like component did mount or use effect, the mounting phase can be cut short. Okay, I'm gonna try to ask it again. What occurrences can cause use effect to not be called in React? Occurrences? React might not be called for several. Here are some common scenarios. No change in dependencies. Well, yeah, of course. Incorrectly specified depend. Yeah, effect cleanup during. If the component is conditional and the condition changes. Yeah. And the condition changes before the effect is executed. How is that possible? Yeah, that's fine. Strict mode errors or component. Yeah, that's for sure. It's kind of hard. I'm very specific. I mean specifically related to concurrent mode. Yeah, may delay use effect. That's fine. Yeah, but what are the actual scenarios? I guess that's the thing. Maybe the React team just wants the freedom to do these optimizations, and they just say, we're not going to tell you about the specific scenarios because it might change, and we don't want to like document or make anyone rely on those specific scenarios. We want the freedom to optimize the hell out of this. And that would make sense. And then just say, this can happen. You have to go around it. Yeah. So the thing that bothers me is that even if we do the finalization registry thing, you might not detect it during development. That's the thing. In what scenarios does React discard renders? When an urgent update occurs, like a user typing in input or clicking a button, React may discard a current render to prioritize the new update. Impose or discard the render. Yeah, so yeah, okay. I guess this is like a very concrete example. So they're using start transition. And you're searching for something, right? And then you're showing a list of components, and then you're typing, or like you're just typing, right? And then React does its best to kind of keep that list up to date, but you are typing, which means that if you're typing fast enough, it can start producing the state of a list or start producing a list internally, but then it discards it because you have another key press, right? That is definitely possible. And then and if these items for some reason had like a use effect, that would be a problem. If state or prop updates occur while a render is in progress, React can discard the in progress render and restart it with the new data. This prevents rendering outdated or stale. Yeah. Yeah, so for any reason, like it's rendering out some thing and maybe you have a component that's observing some state, and as it's like rendering out, like maybe it's observing some state that says true, and then it renders out a reactive component as part of that state. But then before it's done, like going and mounting it, that state externally changes to false, and that component will then not render this tree, right? Yeah, I actually the transition thing. I have it remind me. I've actually seen a video on it, and it basically is. You can imagine like you're typing once, and then React does the render phase for the new list, but then the user has typed again in the meantime. What it does then, and doing that changes the state, right? So what React does then just disposes of the render and creates a new render for that list. And then if the user has typed again, it disposes of that, renders and like renders as in render phase, prepares the list, and then as soon as it has like an opening, there's been no more typing, it actually commits that thing. So it makes a lot of sense that it can happen there. So basically, if every item had a use effect, they would not render for the 3 first key presses. You wouldn't really see anything in the UI during those key presses, but React would, under the hood, like prepare the render, just wouldn't commit it. Yeah, so it's like anything that's like a start transition that changes the state, in a way that invalidates the current render tree, basically prevents use effect from running. And that's very hard to detect during development. But it makes absolute sense for React wanting to have that capability. But why? What I want to do though, I want to test something. I want to test this insane idea I had. So what we're doing is we're creating a lazy component. This is the component React node. And UI null. Okay. Oh, sorry, use state. Oh, don't we have use state? And then use layout effect. Why is this complaining so much? Oh, sorry. use sorry. Well, this would be, oh sorry, this needs to return React component, sorry. Oh. So what we do here is we do set UI. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a component that starts out as null, but before it's mounted, we actually render it. By the way, Adam, sorry if it feels like I'm not listening to your input. Because we have the latency, so I'm not 100% sure where we are, like in the interaction. So please shout out if there's something you want me to check out. Okay, so test create lazy component. Hola, whatever. Div lazy component. Okay, good. So what I find very interesting about this is that doing this should not have so what makes this so what's bad about this, I would imagine, is that React normally optimizes when it runs this function. But if I change the state during layout effects, it kind of it basically forces React to do the render because it's the layout effect. And maybe the biggest problem here is that it's a pretty big reconciliation. Well, I guess that's the question. Like, how big of a reconciliation is this? Because it started as null, and it basically it should like there shouldn't be any real cost to it, because it's just okay. It was null. Now I have this component tree, and then it does the commit phase. Maybe someone's done this. Oh yeah, of course it interferes with no, I would never find an answer there. Yeah, theoretically it shouldn't be like any cost. Because there's no reconciliation happening. It's just it didn't have anything and now it has something. And it's about to go in and well, I guess where I think oh, we don't even need CB here because that will never change. I wonder. I do wonder to what extent. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, let's do that just for fun. I can always argue about like how good like these kinds of tests are, but it gives like some indication, right? So how do we do this? I guess we can just create an array. Items array. How do you do like of? Is it of? No. How do you like say yeah, length. This is it. Look at that. It even knew that it was 1,000. That's scary. That's so fucking scary. Wait a minute. How does this work? Iterable. Yeah, and this is the mapping function. Yeah, so we just want a test. So I guess what we want to do is we want to start a timer here. Start. How is it? Performance dot now, and then we can use it. I guess use. Well, we can use a use effect, I guess, because that's like when it's done mounting it. Time it took is because you can just say performance now minus start or something, and then we do items map. Well, comp, we just render it. Oh, comp index, something like this, I think. What does this do? Well, time it took 20. Yeah, whatever. I don't know how long it should take, but I guess we'll figure out. Whatever. Okay, so what if we do test 2? I would think it took... Oh, it doesn't seem to be any difference. This is very interesting. Yeah, and you know what? What's interesting about this? What's interesting about this is like hooks, right? Because hooks can't be conditional, but we don't support hooks in. So we have a problem still, but maybe we can fix it. So one problem is hooks, right? They can't be conditional. So if we were going to do this in like a function, normal like function component, it wouldn't work. But we're not doing that. We're doing that in a class component, which doesn't have hooks. But the problem is we don't have use layout effect. But again, yeah, but it doesn't matter, I think. So what we can do is we can, instead of using a class component, we can use a functional component. Maybe we should do that regardless. But it means we can't support hooks in the, which is actually preferable. Like it would be weird if you used hooks here. And it wouldn't be because you can't use them. You would just get an error about conditional rendering. This is actually super clever. Like the React team would hate us for it, but Well, I don't want to. I don't want to have two components. I don't want a class component that renders a subcomponent. I want it to be one component. Yeah, exactly. And where would you use them? So yeah, I think it's the whole thing here is not using hooks. We could even have like so we have on will unmounted. We could even have our own hook that's called that's interesting. That's called on the use layout effect, basically. Yeah, exactly. So you might do so the thing is that is the worry. Would you actually consider using hooks here? Like technically you could. But you could also say, no, if you want to use hooks, create a function component. But what if you want to combine state with that thing? Well, you can just make it a function component, take in a prop, and do it there. But then it's like, so imagine like it's an actual input where you want to start a transition. You probably want that input to have an on change. So now you, instead of just having an input that does like a state change here, around a start transition, you would have to like create your own component. You would have to pass it the value. You have to pass it an on change. Yeah. What do you mean shouldn't combine state? The funny thing is that we even have a hook detector inside Impact that knows when you're trying to call a hook in an invalid context, which would be used typically here, but we can use it here as well. And we can help the developer understand that you can't use hooks in stateful components or reactive components, and then you just have to create another component. I want to do this. I really want to do this based on our immense statistics of running 1000 hello worlds. I really love the idea of guaranteeing, and it's so funny because we're in such a unique position because we don't allow hooks here. We have a different paradigm. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what you can also do is like if you want to do something like that, you can even do the create provider thing. Like if you don't want to pass props to this nested component that uses a transition, you can do the create provider and export the state, or like create a state hook. and then just use it directly. Don't have to pass props. Okay. I feel like, you know, Evis, one of the founders of Code Sandbox, I I I love him to death, but one thing that can frustrate me with him is that his never-ending iterations on finding the correct solution. I can imagine you have the same here, Adam. It's like, oh, the details, the details. Let's just like why this never-ending loop of reflections and considerations. Let's just make it work. But yeah, okay. I think I actually removed this. I want to bring it back. Shit. Is it? Yeah. We have 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Yeah, as long as we're moving forward. Yeah, I think that's my frustration with Evis. It's like it's not. It doesn't feel like it's moving forward. It's like you have one idea and then we jump to this. Maybe we. He's like, maybe if we do the complete opposite. Well, it's kind of been like that. Yeah, you know what? That was actually profound for me. Like, actually reflect on: are we still moving forward? Yeah, and I think definitely he's always moving forward. I just get impatient. I want a conclusion. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So we have this amazing little blockable dispatcher. Let's see. Bloop. But we have another problem. Do we? Yes, we have another problem. It's strict mode. I think. Yes, we have another problem. And this is the thing. This is my journey with React. Every time I feel like I'm finding a solution, it feels like React has been engineered for me to not find a solution for things. The problem is that the component body is called twice. So if we no, wait, we no, it's not a problem. We just have to. We don't call the setup until it's about to mount, right? We do it as part of rendering the UI, so it's fine. Okay, let's see here. So we have to change this thing from a class. Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be very, very interesting. So create component. Let's just return it immediately. This is gonna return. Let's call it reactive component. It's let's return that reactive component, and its display name is gonna be a reactive component display name. Is it display name equals setup.name? And what we need to do here, we need we're gonna use a context. Let's just start shoving stuff in here. So parent, so this would be reactive context container. I need to do a full rename. Parent reactive. Let's just call it reactive component, and this will be use context, reactive container context. And then this is so fascinating. You know what? This is so fascinating. So we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna have UI set UI equals use state null. Return UI, and we're gonna do set UI, and we're gonna call the setup. Oh, there's. Oh, we need to do more stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, so we need to do a lot of stuff here. So this is basically our initializer, right? So I guess you can argue here that we cannot really set up the reactive part of this, the setup, until we're here. And oh wait, but still strict mode. It's gonna run use layout effect twice. But now we can dispose of it. I think that's fine. Okay, let's just run through it and see how it works. So first of all, we're gonna have const observable props, and that will be props would be. Do we have p here? So we would create observable props where we have get children would return props.children. Oh, interesting. Fuck. Fuck. We're immediately getting to the problem. This is a stale reference. So what we can do is okay, I think this is doable. Again, let's just try to go through it. Parent reactive component. I think we need a ref for the observable props. So we're gonna say observable props equals use ref whatever. And then because one thing is running this twice, right? This will run through it. It won't trigger any use layout effect. And then it runs through it again. So we have our ref. It runs use layout effect once. We set the ref, and that's fine. Because the next time it runs use layout effect, we have the ref, and then we don't set it again. But now we can actually change. How are we going to do this? No, this should be children, actually. So we're going to have. Yeah, sorry. So children is going to be children.current. And then we're going to basically. Yeah, you know what? We're just going to say children current equals props.children. That's what we're going to do. React node or undefined. Why are you complaining? Oh, it's unknown. Whatever. Oh, come on. TS ignore. I don't care. So we're just going to set the children here. And then we're going to use the current children. That's fine. And then we're going to build up. Yeah, so this is interesting. We still need observable props though, because we should only build those once. But use layout effect might be called twice. So we need to know if we need to know, like, what do we just use a reference for? I just wonder what a reference should be for having initialized. Should it just be, yeah, but should the ref be the observable props? Or should it be, do we need a reference to anything? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna just use, I'm just gonna use observable props because we need to access those. Use ref. I guess we can call it P. And then we're gonna say observable props current. If observable props current, then we just return equals, yeah, whatever. You know, fuck this. We're just gonna use any. I don't care. We know what we're doing. Well, do we? Let's see. So we have our let's call it const observable props. Oh, interesting. Oh, observable props ref. We should do ref here. Children ref. Observable props ref. Return current. Children ref current. Let's be explicit. Okay, so we have our observable props. Now we need to go through the actual props here and build up the thingy. Where are we at? We need to build up the observable props. Oh, we already have them. We're building them up. That's fine. And then we have this thing. And now we're, so the thing I'm talking about now is like, use layout effect. That's where you don't want to do work because it's just before the commit phase. But we're not doing any work now during the render phase. So maybe it's fine. Let's see. So we're passing. Why is it so angry? Oh. As any. Okay, so now we're building up this stuff, and now we're gonna say, basically we're gonna call, what do we call it? Set UI. So now we're basically gonna go in and oh, wait a minute. So yeah, sorry. Let's do. Oh, sorry. Thanks. So now we're gonna go in and we're gonna. So this really just gives us the. Okay, we can do. Oh, what happened? Set UI. So it's calling this and then calling the thing, because this setup returns the actual. Why does it say undefined? Come on. Setup should give us some React UI. Initial UI. Well, here we have to actually go and do some stuff. Yeah, it's returning a React node. Didn't I tell it to be a React node? Oh, any. But here we have to go in and add our, yeah, this is going to be interesting. How is this going to work? Okay, so I don't think, oh wow, how are we going to do this? I think we're going to set, yeah, I think we're just going to set the UI as the function. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Because what we also need to do, we need to observe this UI. Wow, this is a really complicated thing, but it's all here now. We should be able to get this running. So what we want to do is we're going to do this stuff. So I think we need another ref. Okay. So we have return UI. So basically return UI or UI, and we render UI. I think we're going to pass in UI. So render UI means we have this function that represents our UI, which has all the state and everything closed over it. Oh, push this container. Oh, container. What's container? Okay, I need to finish this thought and then we're gonna do function render UI. So here we're gonna get like the actual UI function, like the thing returned from the setup. Let's call it render. I'm just gonna shove this in there and then we're gonna go and create a container. Let's do this. Then container equals, and this dot context is actually parent reactive component like this, and then we have container here. So we're not going to push. We're going to push container. It's funny. I could never have written this code to begin with. Like put all of this stuff. Just think about how to implement this. Okay, interesting. Let's see now how the hell are we gonna actually render this thing. So we have this disposer of, because when we render, we need to observe changes, right? And it needs to be dynamic. So this configure component, it takes like the configure component takes the logic required to translate props into observable state, right? That's the converter. And then we have observer, and this is basically just the primitive in the reactive package, like MobX or whatever, which basically just takes a call, like they all have the same signature. It's a callback that observes changes and it returns an unsubscribe function. And that's what we use to actually keep the UI up to date. We don't use the actual like MobX React Lite observer component or any other component. One reason is that we prevent having a nested component. And the other thing is when it just uses the core package of MobX or Legend or whatever, because they typically have an additional package for rendering, but we don't really care about that. Okay, so but we need this disposer, so I think we need a ref for that. UI disposer ref, use ref. I have a lot of refs. Any. So let's do. Did I have? Okay. UI disposer ref. Dot current. If we have it, we're gonna call it. And then we're gonna say UI disposer ref is gonna be the observer of. Well, now we don't have to check if we're mounted or not, because this can only run. This is another question. So now we're running this observer. We're accessing all this state. Can anything happen between? Well, it doesn't matter, because this only happens. Yeah, this happens after use layout effect. And you can change the state during. Yeah, so this is fine. But we don't have something that actually triggers an update. So we need a way to force update the component, and that's very simple. You can just use a counter for that. That's what everyone does. Render, what should we call it? Render thingy. Render count, like it doesn't matter. Force render, use state 0. Like this is how you force render a functional component. You just go force render current +1. Yeah, render. Yeah, sorry, we don't actually need a count. We just need to run it. And then the result would be render. And that returns it. So now, so this is kind of tricky because we want to render as the component renders, right? But during that render, we also want to observe and trigger a new render if what we observe changes. So the first time it does the render, we have this observer, it runs immediately. And oh, wait a minute. Yeah, exactly. So we call render UI with the actual render function. We yeah, sorry. And what we expect is to actually get the UI to render, right? So the way this works is that it disposes the previous observer because that is stale, as the UI might have changed and it's observing other things. So we run observer, and this runs synchronously. That's the mind-bending thing here. And the first time this runs, it's actually going to set the result of the render, and that's being returned, and that's being returned to React. But and if a parent would cause a reconciliation of this component, it will actually do the same thing. It disposes of the previous thing, it does a new render, result render, blah, blah, blah. But if something internally changes that it's observing, then it should just trigger a new reconciliation of the component, which does the same thing. Blah, blah, blah. Display name mounted, UI disposer. Yes, and then it's updating the actual props. And yeah, and then with the error, we should be fine, because if there's an error during rendering, we have mounted, and we will unmount. I think that's something to check. But yeah, when we unmount, we need to I'm also curious about this. How do we do a proper unmount? Okay, there's some more stuff here. Let's do the props update first. So that can just be its own thing. So use... and the question now is, should this be... when should this happen? So I think this should actually happen during reconciliation. Because yeah, it has to happen during reconciliation. Yeah, the tricky thing is that in strict mode it runs twice, the use effect thing. So we need a check there. For okay, how should we do this? This is gonna be interesting. If children ref, oh sorry, not children ref. Where's the observable props ref? So oh, I think we have a problem. Yeah, we have a problem. So this is like the render phase, and we need to update the props. No, wait, we should use layout effect for it. Sorry. Oh, what happened? Let's move down here. Use layout effect. So this will be responsible for keeping the props up to date. And I guess the props are always new. Unless there's like an internal change. So basically what we're gonna do is, we're not gonna do this, we're gonna grab the observable props ref. And I guess we want this to actually run after the other one. Or we can, no, we can run it now. So if no observable props ref current, we just return. What do you mean by spread the props? So we're gonna go through. Why is this complaining? Oh, type boolean. No, I think it's fine. Like this reference is more about not running this when there's like an internal reconciliation. So this props object is the same if, for example, here, when we do the UI state change, the props are the same because it's an internal reconciliation, so it won't run this again. But it will run every time the parent reconciles this, which is fine. Like, because we just check if the props has changed, and then we set it. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, this is memo. Oh, sorry, this is the memo code. I completely forgot. So we can just make this thing memo. Sorry about that. So we're gonna make it memo. Where's the code that updates the... Here we go. There it is. So observable props ref.current. We go through them. We just set the key, and currently here we rely on the actual reactive implementation to not trigger if the value is the same. We could check here, do an explicit check, but all reactive primitives does this check to avoid any unneeded triggers, because if the value doesn't change, there's no need to notify any observers. Maybe I should comment a little bit. Update props. Yeah, this props. Yeah, so that was the memoization. And then we need to check the error handling thing, but then it's unmount. We have to unmount the container and the UI disposer. Why do I have... Oh yeah, I remember now. This is strict mode related. But what we're gonna do now, we're gonna fix that, but let's for now just return a disposer from this thing. And now we're only running this. Yeah, let's just run it. So that would be container unmount. You know what? We actually need a reference to the container if we want to run. What's interesting now is that the setup actually represents layout effect. So well, I guess one thing that's not ideal, I guess, is like what you can do in components, functional components, is like you can have a ref to an element, and then you can actually reference that element on use layout effect. So if you like want to change well, yeah, we wouldn't run. Yeah, this is interesting. We need to explore some stuff, that's for sure. UI disposer ref current. And then we have the actual rendering. So we have some, well, we don't need the suspense thing anymore, but if we have a value that we need to provide, we need to return the context provider. So we actually do need a reference to the context. We can just do that immediately. I know we need it. So what the hell happened here? Oh, so we would need a container ref. Maybe we should put all of this stuff into one ref. Yeah, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Container ref. Where's our container? Container ref current equals new reactor context container. And then we have current. And then, so I think we just do this in render. So we have the result there, but what we want to do is we want to make these checks. Well, we don't, that is actually result. So what we want to do is just have this check. So we have result, and then if container ref current, and we can't really run this without the container ref, so that's fine. And then this will be result, and this will be result. And let's drop that comment. Okay, cool. 10 more minutes. Let's just remove all of this. Okay, let's try it. So yarn impact react component, yarn build. Of course. Oh, I have a this.container. Oh, and render. Publish. Yeah, this is the docs. I would be very surprised if this works on the first try. Wait. Oh, it's... God damn it. Wait a minute. What's happening here? What the fuck is happening here? Ugh, I should have used... What the fudge? Yeah, we're actually doing it live. I think I'm running... No, I stopped all the other processes. What the hell happened to my... Wait, why is it starting it again and again? Hey, what's going on here? From Impact React? Wait a minute. I think there's something weird. Let's delete this. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna build everything. I don't think I built anything here. So Impact React component. We built this one, right? And this app has like a reference to so many different things. Let's just comment out. Let's just do the signals implement. Well, actually, let's do the MobX thing because it's signals one has a bit more implementation in it. God damn it, we're running out of time. Oh, did I? We still want that one. No, it was the MobX one. Ugh. Cool. And then let's build them. Oh, what the hell did I do now? Yarn build. Or it's... What's happening? Ah, god damn it. It's all a mess. Impact React component. Why is this? Why are you complaining? Oh, maybe I have to yarn install to link them. There we go. Okay, and then yarn dev. What the fuck is happening to next? It's almost like it's starting twice. Oh. Oh, I don't think I... Okay, interesting. Oh, that's some old stuff. Sorry. I should just go to the thingy and then... start it. All right. This is going to be super interesting. Cannot read properties of undefined. I'm just gonna. So UI is null. How can container ref not have anything if we have how is that possible? How can it doesn't help that we have freaking Next.js running this, but okay. Render is not a function. Yeah, I just wonder how is it able to. Okay, let's first log out console.log UI. It's probably some fucking strict mode. How can it run? Render is not a function. But the only time it actually runs this is if we have a render function. I'm confused. And why doesn't it console log? Oh, we have one issue though. That's server-side rendering. But that's fine. We can support server-side rendering. Why doesn't this run? Hello. Oh, by the way, what the hell am I actually doing inside this? MobX example. Yeah, it's a simple application. But why aren't I seeing any logs? Oh, it's because it's on the server. Oh, wait a minute. It's because it's on the server. So, for fuck's sake. Probably says hello here. Why does it have a reaction? Like it shouldn't render anything. It's null. I'm very confused. Has provided. How can render UI be called without calling it? Oh, wait a minute. I probably need to build it. Yeah, it's the render function passed to. Oh, there we go. Oh, maximum calls. Okay, maybe we should fix that first. So it's just returning null, but now it's going in and it's setting up children ref current props of children. I might have a wrong reference to prop somewhere. Oh yeah, I think here it's setting the children again. We're not gonna do that. Do 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 do. Yeah, cool. Now the thing is, we're server-side rendering now, so we have to check that. So if we're server-side rendering, it's actually quite simple. Or is it? I haven't thought about this. No, I think it should behave the same, actually. It should just be null. But yeah. Or render UI. UI. But it seems like... Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, sorry. UI or... Why does it say... Why does it call render UI on the server? That doesn't make any sense. Hello. Hello. Null. And there's no call here to... Oh, sorry. Now it's here. Okay. I think these are coming out of order. No. Wait. Am I calling render UI somewhere? That's not like there? No. How is this possible? Like there's no observation. Render is not a function. Like it's saying that it's calling render UI, but there's no UI. Yeah, exactly. But it can only call render UI if you have a UI. Let's move it into the actual render UI function. This is very weird. Oh, yeah, of course. Ah, of course. Sorry. That's like a basic condition. Oh my god, that's embarrassing. There we go. Okay. So it didn't render anything. Render is not a function. Okay, so it's still saying this. How can it say that? So it's still the same point. So how can render... Oh, could it be what I'm setting? UI. So what we're setting is setup. We're calling setup, and that returns a function. Okay, let's do a hello render, and then... Oh, fuck, I have to go. Fucking kids. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's the actual component. React element? Oh, I know what it is. It's it's when we do the setup. Like we're it's a function. So it uses the it uses the function callback. We have to do this. There we go. Hey, look at that. It did work. Well, it doesn't like super support server-side rendering. But that's kind of the point of this whole thing. My partner went to get the kids. That's nice. We have a few more. I have to make dinner. I might just order some pizza. That's what I do when I get stuck in streams. It's pizza day. So Impact is designed for productivity apps, which doesn't have server-side rendering. That's the whole point of it. Like we can do server-side rendering, but there's a risk to it, right? Because if you're like instantiating something on the server, you shouldn't do that. We did die like that last night. Okay. Oh, nice. We have some leftovers. So I guess I should say thank you. Okay. So we're gonna say now that we don't support server-side rendering because we're building productivity apps. We can support server-side rendering. It's a simple check. It's a simple check. But then you have to be careful. Like with any React component, really. Well, I guess that's also, yeah, that's another thing. Like it's not only about concurrent mode, but it's also server-side rendering, right? That's why they shove all state management into effects so that they only run on the client. But that's the whole problem. We can't shove all the state management into effects. I wonder how Vue does this, how they think about it on server-side rendering. But yeah, anyways, detect server side. How do we detect server side? React detect server side. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's kind of different. I need to know it immediately. Yeah. we're doing something super nasty here. Let's just do this. So if type of window is not equals to undefined, and we have window document and window document create element. Yeah, it's kind of overkill. But okay. So where is it? So if can use DOM, we're gonna do this, or we're just gonna call this what was it? Setup? We're just gonna call the setup with the props. Yeah, and then we have the context thingy. Let's just do this. As any. You cannot really use it. Or it would be like empty. Okay. They wouldn't do anything. So on did mount would just be like this, and on will mount would just be like this, empty functions. Oh, shouldn't it? Oh, sorry. We need to actually call it. It's interesting though, because I think when it hits the, you get like this expected server HTML. Yeah. Yeah, I want to say, because in my whole career, I've never built, it's so funny, like React is so pushing server side. I've never built a server side rendering application because it makes absolutely no sense in productivity apps. And it would be nice to just make that statement. Like it just doesn't support server side rendering. You can still have like a skeleton thing, right? But then you just use function components. And when everything hits well, the problem is that you will get, we can't render on layout. Sorry, we can render immediately. Well, you will get this error. I don't think there's any way around it. It happens because now we do render on the server, but when it hits the client wants to return null because it's awaiting the use layout effect. So it first returns null, and then after use layout effect, it actually returns the same UI. Sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking. Like personally, I don't need it. I don't need server side rendering. Yeah, I wonder if we know if it's rehydrating. If it's rehydrating. But what does that actually mean? Like it's almost like it's the absolute initial rendering. I wonder if you can get into concurrent issues on the initial render. I guess you can't. Like, because React needs to build up the full initial DOM tree. And it's much faster, right? Because it doesn't need to build the DOM. It's just there. Yeah, so I guess I would feel very convinced that you have a guarantee that the stuff you render on the server is actually mounted on the client. Like anything else would be utterly silly, right? So what we would need to know is it's just the dynamic nature of everything that's an issue. So we would need to know if it really is the very first render. And if it is the first, or if it's rehydrating, that's what we need to know. Or if it's the first render. Yeah. How do we know if it's the first render? I guess we could just have a global. Yeah, basically just have a global that is like is first render. Yeah. But I think we can do it very simply. Like it needs some refactoring. Because the question is, when does it set up this stuff? Yeah, but I think it's doable. Like we can have a global so that when the first, so it's like first render. Well, can we? Yeah, we can do that. Like, yeah, so we have like is first render, which is true. And then as soon as a use layout, so the use layout effects won't run until everything's like put into the DOM, like all rendering is done. I think we can do it quite quickly. Is first render. And then on like the first use layout effect, we can even use where are we? Is first render is false. Oh, should be a let. Like we're just putting stuff on top of this. I still believe in this approach though. But what we need to do is basically we need to move all of this stuff into its own function. So we had a function called render UI, or let's call it just function configure component or whatever. So now the question is, do we can't set this during render. So this also needs to how would we do that? I think we actually need to do this in use state. Because on the initial render, we can't call set UI again. Or maybe we can just change it. So no, because we need to set UI for the rest of the renders. Maybe we shouldn't even use state. No, we need to do use state. Well, no, we don't. We can use a UI ref instead. And then we have force render that helps us actually do the rendering. So UI ref, use ref, any, let's see. So we would do current equals. Yeah, and this doesn't need to be a function anymore. And then we do if is first render if is first render, we just return, or we do a force update, force render. Wait, do I need? Oh, sorry. Where are you? Force render. Current +1. So basically what we're doing now is that we're saying configure component what were we doing? So this is server side. Maybe we should do is can use DOM and is first render. Wait, why is this? Oh, DOM. But wait, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. We have to know if we have to know if it's not if it's the first. No, it's okay. First render is okay. We said that. That's safe. What are we gonna do? Can use DOM and is first render. Then we're just gonna configure, and then we're gonna return. Let's see. Oh my god. If can use DOM and is first render, and then UI ref current. If can use DOM, we're gonna return URF current, and let's make that a null. Null. And then, or is server side. So this is first render on client. Any other render on client in risk of concurrent issues. SSR. Oh, wait a minute. And then configure component needs to happen here. Wait, it didn't work? Oh, functions are not valid. Wait, didn't we? Oh, sorry, render UI. I'm completely forgetting. We should return render UI. This was just configuring the component. Where are we? Return render UI. render UI ref. Oh, come on. UI ref current. Yeah, sorry. There you go. Oh yeah, and this one should be UI ref current and render UI. Look at that. Hey, oh. Yeah, this is just MobX strict mode. Nice. I think we're onto something. Like the thing is that we can explain why we want the behavior. So when we do server-side rendering, it should immediately run the component, and then it's up to you. Like if you run some side effect on the server, that's your problem. When we hit the client and it's the first render, I didn't think about this. Like the first render is guaranteed to mount all the components. I guess, well, is it guaranteed? You might be using suspense. I have to think about that. Is it guaranteed? Is it only on rehydration? Or would it be guaranteed regardless? No, because you can have one of these components and then you have some initial data fetching happening. It throws to suspense. We need to know explicitly if it's rehydration. To do this needs to know specifically if it is rehydration. Let's even change it. Is rehydrating. Because only then mounting is guaranteed. Does our global fall over when you have more than one? Yeah, so like the global thing is, even though it's like the first component that flips it, it happens on use layout effect, which can't occur until everything's rendered. So yeah, so it's kind of like it renders from the server, it renders the component tree again, but renders means going through every single component and render. And then it goes to the top, or I guess at the bottom when it's done, and then it starts triggering use layout effect. Yeah. But yeah, we have to know if it's rehydrating, because only then we have that guarantee. But that's something we can look into. I have to go. But this was really fun. And I think we can make this work. I think it makes a lot of sense that we don't do the initialization during the render phase. We just do it during the commit phase. And then you can argue you shouldn't do any work during the commit phase. Or you should do minimal work. But we are doing minimal work. Like, we're not doing anything blocking. We're just creating some, initializing some stuff. It's a very interesting thing. I'm gonna read a little bit more on use layout effect. Like, as I said, the React team is gonna hate us for this. But yeah, but it actually kind of did work on first try. We just had this children thing. That was nice. It was a nice refactor. And then we need to, yeah, check up on arrow throwing and stuff. But yeah, I have to go. Thanks again, Adam. Exactly. Oh, look at this. It's going through. Text is going through on my glasses. That's funny. Or is it just... Yeah, I don't know. See ya. See ya. We'll talk tomorrow.